first thing that anybody is going to tell you before you make a whole freaking sweater is that you need to make a gauge swatch. And obviously this is even more important when we're designing our own sweater, especially if we're not like winging it. Like, knitting is sculpture. So if you're totally winging it, you could just cast on what looks right, try it for a few inches, try it on. If it's not right, then you can unravel it and adjust your math from there, right? And then, you know, just grow your sweater onto your body. That's a valid method of construction. It's actually the way that I made this sweater. I was in the process of moving. I didn't have any patterns with me, and so I just built a sweater as I went. It does have some fit issues. It's not perfect. There's kind of like this baggy area at the top that I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do to fix. But the cool thing is that I already know that I like this gauge, so I'm going to use this whole sweater as my gauge swatch for my next sweater. And I'm specifically going to be measuring in the color work area because the whole sweater is going to be color work. To do that, I do have a tool that has like a gauge swatch area. It's called sheep needle gauge or something like that. But I'm in quarantine because I'm sick, and so I'm just going to use a ruler. But I'll link to my product below. It's super cute. I want to know my stitches per inch and my rows per inch. I'm getting 4.5 stitches to the inch. I'm going to take that measurement in a couple of different places. Yeah, so 4.5 stitches to the inch. And how many rows to the inch? This is a little bit harder because the colors blend so well that they're like almost become invisible. This one's saying 5.5. You want to make sure that you're doing this on a flat surface that's not getting stretched out. So when I pull something closer to me, I want to kind of like pat it out so that it's flat and doesn't distort my reading. Yeah, we're gonna say 5 rows to the inch. I've decided to start with just a schematic and the measurements of the sweater that I like. There are parts of it that aren't perfect, but we're gonna start with the parts that I like. It's 22 inches on one side, and then it's gonna be 44 inches all the way around at the hem. At the chest, I think it's a little bit narrower. Yeah, so it's 21 at the chest. So that will be, at the top, it will be 42 around the bust. You can always use this system when you are modifying other patterns. Armhole depth is 7. Even though our bodies might change with, you know, if we weigh more or taller or shorter, there are certain proportions that tend to be pretty consistent across adult human bodies. So that rise between your shoulder and your neck, usually that's around 1 or 2 inches. It doesn't scale as you gain weight or height. Not as much as you'd think. There's not a smooth mathematical formula for that. So that's, for me, is typically going to be around 1 inch regardless of the sweater. My arms are short, so that means that I don't knit quite as long sleeves, that sort of thing. So I'm going to start with that, and I've drawn out this little schematic. I'm still kind of futzing around with how I'm going to achieve that more circular neck shape. One option is to do a steek. So there are ways that you could knit this whole thing in the round, but then these stitches here are a steek, and you cut that open and then you knit the edging. The downside of that is that you wouldn't be able to try on as you go. So we're still thinking about that. Yeah, so again, stay tuned.